Well, hello everyone again, and thank you for, watching this video. Um, well, to update, I really don't have much to say or talk about really, but today I've decided to, read something from one of my favorite books. It's called Nicholas Again. It's a children's book that was originally published back in I don't know the exact year, but it was a very long time ago. And the author, Rene Goscinny, he's more known for writing this comic strip that was very popular in Europe, but didn't really have much success here in the States. So, and neither did the Nicholas series, which really wasn't published in the US by a US publisher until like the 1980s, and by then reading this wasn't in fashion. So what I decided to do is just to read a little bit from it. And keep in mind, these stories are for children, so if you have children hanging around, they're more than welcome to watch this video. They might even actually be entertained. And we're going to start off, just a little background on the character. The main character, of course, is named Nicholas. He's a little French boy living in the 1950s in Paris, and he attends an all-boys school. I should first say he's about, I don't know, it doesn't give the exact age, but he's about 7 or 8 years old. And he attends like just an all-boys school. And I guess back then that's how things were in France, and in particular Paris. And I believe he has about 7 friends in that class, and I believe there are like 10 of them altogether. And there's one boy in particular who none of the other 9 really like, and they all want to beat him up and stuff, and give him the right pasting, but he wears glasses, and so they really can't. And anyway, this story is about her told in the first person by Nicholas, and kind of the adventures, both in and out of school that they get into. So I'll start off with one of my favorites. It's called Uncle George's Nose. Dad walked to school with me after lunch today. I like it when Dad goes with me, because he often gives me money to buy things. And that's what he did today. We were passing the toy shop, and I looked in the window and saw those cardboard noses you can put on your face to make your friends laugh. "Oh, Dad, do buy me a nose," I said. Dad said no, he wouldn't. I didn't need a nose, but I showed him a red one, and I said, "Oh, please, Dad, buy me that nose. It's just like Uncle George's." Uncle George is Dad's brother. He's fat, and he tells a lot of stories, and he's always laughing. We don't see him very often because he travels around selling things in faraway places. Lyon, Marseille, and Bordeaux. Dad started to laugh. "You're right," said Dad. "It is like a smaller version of George's nose. I'll put it on next time he comes to see us." And then we went into the shop and bought the nose, and I put it on. It had an elastic band to keep it in place. Then Dad put it on, and then the lady in the shop put it back on me, and we all looked at ourselves in the mirror and laughed a lot. I don't care what anyone says. My dad is great. Sorry, this is so funny. I almost lost my space. When he left me at the school gates, Dad said, "Now be good. Try not to make any trouble with George's nose." And I promised, and I went into school. I saw a whole gang in the playground, and I put on my nose to show them. We all laughed a lot. "It's like my Auntie Claire's nose," said Max. "No, it's my Uncle George's nose," I said. "You remember? My uncle, the explorer?" "Lend me that nose, will you?" Eddie asked. "No," I said. Ask your own dad to buy you one if you want one. If you don't lend it, I'm going to punch you, said Eddie, who was very strong, and biff, he punched Uncle George's nose. It didn't hurt, but I was afraid Eddie might have broken Uncle George's nose, so I put it in my pocket and kicked him. We were in the middle of fighting, and the rest of the gang were watching when Old Spuds came chasing up. Old Spuds is one of the teachers, and someday I'll tell you why we call him Old Spuds. What's going on here? Asked Old Spuds. It's Eddie, I said. He punched my nose and broke it. Old Spuds seemed very surprised. He bent down, his face right next to mine, and he said, Let's have a look. So I took Uncle George's nose out of my pocket and showed him. I don't know why, but the sight of Uncle George's nose made him very angry. Boy, look me in the eye, said Old Spuds, standing up again. I don't stand for people making fun of me. My young friend, you'll stay and after school today, understand? I started to cry, and Geoffrey said, Please, sir, it wasn't his fault, sir. Old Spuds looked at Geoffrey and smiled and patted his shoulder. Confessing to save a friend, eh? Well done, me boy. Well, it wasn't his fault, said Geoffrey. It was Eddie's fault. Old Spuds went bright red. He opened and shut his mouth several times before he said anything. And then he gave Eddie detention, and he gave Geoffrey detention, and he gave Matthew detention for laughing, and he went off to ring the bell. Back in the classroom, our teacher began telling us things about when France was full of jails. Alec, who was sitting next to me, asked if Uncle George's nose was really broken. I said no, just a bit squashed at the end, and I took it out of my pocket to see if I could put it right. And when I pushed my finger inside it, I managed to get it back in the same shape it was before. So I was very pleased. Put it on to make sure, said Alec. So I bent down under my desk and put the nose on. Alec took a look and said, It's okay, it's fine. Nicholas, tell me what I have been saying, said our teacher suddenly. She gave me a nasty fright. I said it very suddenly, and I felt like crying. Before I hadn't the faintest idea what our teacher had just been saying. She doesn't like people not listening to her. Our teacher stared at me, very surprised, like Old Spuds. What on earth have you got on your face? She asked me. It's the nose the dad bought me, I explained, crying. Our teacher was cross. She stared, she started to shout, and said she disliked clowns, and if I carried on like this, I should get expelled from school and finish up in an ignoramus and be a disgrace to my parents. And then she said, Bring me that nose. So I went and put it on her desk, still crying, and she said she was confiscating it. And then she told me to write 50 lines, saying I must not bring cardboard noses into history with the aim of playing the fool and making my friends misbehave. When I got home, my mom looked at me and she said, Whatever is the matter with you, Nicholas? You do look pale. So I started to cry. I told her how Old Spuds had given me detention when I took Uncle George's nose out of my pocket, and how our teacher had given me 50 lines to write because of Uncle George's nose. And then she had gone and confiscated it. My mom looked very startled. Then she put a hand on my forehead and said I better go and lie down for a while and rest. When Dad came home from office, Mom told him, I've been so worried, I could hardly wait for you to get home. Nicholas came from school in a very odd, nervous condition. I wonder if I ought to call the doctor for him. I might have known it, said Dad, and I did want him too. I bet that little wretch has been fooling around with old George's nose. And then we were all very worried, because Mom felt ill, and we had to call the doctor for her. The end. Well, thank you for watching today's video. I hope it was an enjoyable read. I surely did enjoy reading it. Well, hopefully next time, when you see me on the video,